Thaddeus Fenner has been a student of astrology since his teens, and he began working with natal charts in 1995. He turned his passion and love for astrology into a client service, writing, teaching, and public speaking venture in 2011 upon the launch of his astrology site, signsinlife.com. Studying and practicing various forms of astrology, he uses a mix of Western and Eastern techniques, namely vibrational astrology, traditional magi, and modern Western techniques, as well as incorporating the Chinese 4 pillars of destiny into his client and writing work. Thaddeus provides personal readings, yearly and monthly forecasts, answers to specific questions, beneficial locations, and relationship compatibility counseling. He holds monthly in-person astrology meetups in DFW area, and he also frequently can be heard on internet radio as a guest astrologer on Star's Heart of the Matter radio show, now on the People for People radio network. Hi, Thaddeus.
Hi.
So happy you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. You're doing some really groundbreaking things that I hadn't really even heard of. So I want to delve into that a little bit. But first of all, can you give us a little bit more? This is a bio, but can you give us a little bit more about what called you to astrology? Why this has become a passion for you?
I think one of the primary reasons why I started to really get into astrology was just just an intense curiosity and why something like astrology should even work at all. Because when I first started reading about it, it just kind of hooked me. And this is when this is probably 1991, 1992, somewhere in there. I was in middle school. Somebody gave me an astrology book called The New Astrology by Suzanne White. I also wound up with a theosophical book, and it was titled Interpret Your Rays with Astrology. And 2 very different books, 2 completely different focuses, but getting those books and reading through those books and seeing other books before that when I was a kid, more specifically astronomy books with very colorful, nice pictures of the planets. I've always just been fascinated with planets. It's stars and star clusters, and so it started early, but it's kind of hard to pin down a specific point in which it just took hold, because it kind of happened in stages. And the latest stage was right around 2008, when I pulled all of my books out of storage and started reading them again. Installed a little free piece of software that was in one of the books and started doing charts again. So, things started, then they kind of stopped, and they started again, they stopped again, then they started again, and they haven't stopped. So that's kind of more in depth on that. You can read a little bit more about that on my website. But tragedy in my life also kind of played its role too. My aunt passed away at a very young age. My brother had a terrible accident. So some of those things led me to do some further investigation. So
were you able to connect those to specific aspects that were going on?
Well, my brother was having Saturn and Uranus transits at the time of his accident. And I haven't looked at that in a long time, and I really don't like looking at it, to be honest with you, because it was such a tragic event for my family. So
sure,
but my aunt was very involved in astrology herself, and so she helped to encourage me also. So around the time she passed away, I was pretty big into Chiron, and I had Barbara Hand Clow's book, Chiron, the Rainbow Bridge, and I was reading that book at the time. So that was very memorable, very impactful. But I was going through some pretty heavy duty transits myself. Pluto was transiting over my Sun, Mars, Mercury, and Neptune.
Good old Pluto.
Yeah.
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 Yep, that's intense. I mean, my God, to say the least. That's rocking somebody's world. You know? I mean,
Yeah, so I was going through some pretty heavy duty transits at the time, and as are a lot of people all of the time. And that's the thing about astrology, someone is always going through something. I mean, things just don't happen in a vacuum. There's reasons why. And astrology is a good tool to describe that and to really dig into the energy of that and to help put a language to it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. so that people can have a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I know that you do a lot with relationship synastry and compatibility. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, really, this is one of the easiest things to do in astrology is compare two charts. And I know there's plenty of techniques out there. I know there's composite charts, there's Davison charts, there's Vedic methods of doing it. But what I found is that the Magi Society method of doing it is what's working really well for me right now. And it hasn't failed me yet. And that's basically just synastry, just simple comparing planets, person A's Saturn to person B's Sun, and just seeing what's there. But they also use the declinations and the heliocentric chart and heliocentric latitude, which is kind of like declination, but in the heliocentric chart.
Okay, that's kind of over my head. So can you tell me a little bit about that? That's
okay. Okay, well, the synastry part or the Helios?
No, synastry I'm good with. No, the okay. Helios, yeah.
It's just casting an astrology chart with the sun at the center. The sun is at the center of the chart, and the Earth is just as it is normally, just a planet around. So you get a very different chart. And the further out the planets are, the less they will change positions. So, for example, Pluto and Neptune, basically the same. Now, Mercury, Venus are going to be very, probably very different. The Earth will always be at the exact opposite of where the Sun is.
Right.
So if your Sun is at 2 degrees Taurus, then your Earth is at 2 degrees Scorpio.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Wow. Okay.
You just take the heliocentric chart. It's roughly the equivalent of interpreting a natal chart, but it's using their rules and their methods, and those can be found in their books and on their website.
Okay. So that's your method of doing.
One method. I also use the Chinese 4 pillars because I've found those to be very accurate as well.
Okay.
Especially in that using the 4 pillars to me is like a very quick overall view of the compatibility between two people. It's kind of like an old X-ray. You just get a very simple clear picture, but you don't get a whole ton of detail. But you get enough to where you can make a pretty good guess.
You can say this is going to fly, or this is going to be a disaster. So
Yeah, you usually see, because when you're using different systems of astrology that that have nothing to do with the other versions of astrology that you're using, it's almost like you're using two separate languages. And so if you try to graph them together, sometimes it works, but most of the time it really doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do my Chinese astrology, I put that hat on and I leave everything else aside. And then I, later on, after I've done my work, then I'll make an attempt to do, some synthesis,
Mm-hmm.
to try to see if there is some kind of commonality. And most of the time there is, but it's in the end result. It's not in the technical details of how the systems work and why they work and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about this vibrational astrology, which you said it stems from harmonic. Did you say harmonic?
Harmonic astrology. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've been going to school with David Cochran with the Avalon School of Astrology. Started that about 7-8 months ago, and learning this brand new system of astrology. I was familiar with harmonic astrology before, but I was not anywhere near proficient with it. So you could think of vibrational astrology as a branch of harmonic astrology, if you want to, but it's really its own separate branch at this point. And harmonics are, I think the best way to describe harmonics is derivatives. Like, let's say I want to just get this particular chemical out of this plant. Well, to do that, I have to do certain things from a chemistry standpoint, right?
Right.
So when we want to do those things with astrology, we can zoom in and look at finer and finer and finer details, like getting into fractals and seeing smaller and smaller pictures, but getting detail out of those very small pictures too. And so harmonics, just as an example, you might be thinking of the fifth harmonic, okay? Maybe the seventh harmonic. Well, most astrologers are familiar with a quintile, which is 72 degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a square, which is 90 degrees. So a square is 1/4 of a circle. A quintile is 1/5 of the circle.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in harmonic charts is that if we were to look at a fifth harmonic chart, and let's just say, just as an example, you had Venus and Jupiter exactly quintile in your natal chart. Well, in the fifth harmonic chart, Venus and Jupiter are conjunct. Okay. How did we do that? Two different ways to explain it. Excuse me. Sorry about that. You can take any number that you want, 5, 7, 9, 31, 152, whatever number. Take that number and put that many zodiacs inside of the regular zodiac. So you would have 5 baby zodiacs inside of the natal chart, or 7 or 8 or 152, whatever harmonic you want to see.
So does each harmonic stand for a different thing in life? Like one harmonic is going to stand for relationships, one harmonic is going to stand for wealth, one. Yes.
Well, yes, and actually, that's kind of the, I guess you'd say, like the meat and the potatoes of the system, because if that wasn't true, there really wouldn't be much different about it. The harmonics actually, and I know this sounds controversial, but they actually drive and dictate to the planets what they're doing as a group. So when you're talking 3 or 4 or 5 more or 5 planets. So within the context of that harmonic, those energies come together and they express themselves. Okay. And so just as an example, if we're talking about the seventh harmonic is deep, it's quiet, it is still, it is reflective, it wants to be disciplined. It is not into chaos and excitement. It just wants to absorb and be still, and it has a lot to do with traditional ways of doing things also. So planets in the seventh behave in a 7 kind of a way when they're connected.
So are you saying that like 7 would be like ritual or a spirituality, meditation, or
certain kinds of spiritual beliefs, traditional forms of spirituality? Yes, ritual is one of the themes of that harmonic. And so if you take the 5th harmonic, which is mainly play and spontaneity and being organic and being in the zone, quote unquote, being flowing and kind of in the moment, that's a very different contrast to the 7 energy or the 7 vibration. And
so does this play into numerology at all? Or no?
I don't think so. It could, but as of right now, I'm more leaning towards no. But there are some numbers that do seem to kind of say something, but it's not numerology per se.
This seems like it would just be a booger bear to try to learn.
Well, it is a new language. I mean, it is a new language, but astrologers have already learned some of the language. They just don't realize it.
So how many fractals can there be, or is it infinite?
It's actually infinite. Yes, it's infinite. What David and the rest of the group are finding is that the finer and finer harmonics do have meaning. We just have to try to discover a consistent way to pin down exactly what each one means.
Wow.
And there's actually a vibrational astrology conference coming up in April, and that's going to happen in Florida, in I think it's that first weekend in April. And so a lot of that new information that they've been finding is going to be revealed during that conference. So,
wow, this is exciting. I always like to hear about new stuff. That's great.
Yeah, it is very new. It is super duper new. But David and others have been working with this for years and years and years now. So.
But even gosh, there's something new that we're learning every day. I mean, this is not, not every day. I mean, it's every second we're learning something new. Tell me, we're moving at breakneck speed. All of us are. Tell me what you think about, what are your thoughts about how people can kind of stay at ease and to keep in balance, living living an abundant life. And when I say abundant, I don't mean necessarily money, although it could be, but also just living a full life.
Okay.
Given all of this crazy energy that's going on, and this, we've got some major things happening planetarily. How do you feel that people can kind of work with this energy and not against it?
Okay, this will be fun. Turn off your TV. One, put down your phone, and or turn the phone off, and reconnect with your friends and family. Okay, and then when you feel comfortable, or more comfortable and less stressed out and less nuts from everything that's happening in the world, devote some time to learn about yourself. Know thyself. And astrology is one of those tools that can help you to get there. And that's why I do astrology, because I want to know more about me, and I want to know about other people, but I also want other people to get the benefit of that too. So that's my advice. And it's, I'm not trying to be sarcastic or mean about this, but the best thing that people can do, it really doesn't have anything to do with astrology at all. It just simply has to do with common sense, and knowing that we are truly distracted to a point of impending doom, even. Because if people can't get out of the fear mode, the fear, the worry, feelings of lack, feelings of self-hatred, feelings of being disconnected, we have to break out of that spell. And one of the primary keys to accomplishing that is just turning off the TV. Yes, the internet too, if you have to do that. Put down the cell phone and pick up a home phone and give somebody a call. I would start there.
Connect.
Yeah, just reconnect, because I think a lot of us are just lost in the chaos of just trying to make ends meet already, but then we're adding everything else on top of that through the media. And I just think take a break from it. And yes, investigate astrology. Learn your own natal chart. You don't have to know everything about it, but you can at least learn your moon sign, which is your emotional response to things. It's how you cope. It's how you take care of yourself. The moon has a lot to do with your personality. That's another major key. Your rising sign. That's another one too. So there are some very simple things that I recommend doing. And it's not hard to get that information either. You can pretty much contact any astrologer you want, and they'll send you this information for free, or they should anyway.
Yeah, I agree. It's very basic stuff. You and I had this discussion that it's amazing how many people have never even had their natal chart read. And, they're my age, they're 57. I cannot even imagine about to approach my second Saturn return and not ever having gone through everything that I've gone through in my life and see all the things that I've seen, and never having had my chart read. I mean, I guess I'm too inquisitive. I'm too curious. I want to know I want to kind of know what's behind all this when everybody's going nuts. I want to know what's feeding that, even if it's our own fear. Why do we have this fear? why does everyone collectively have this fear right now at this moment? Or why is everyone seemingly calm right now at this point? That hasn't happened in quite a while, particularly. But, so I think that's great advice. I think that's wonderful advice. I could talk to you forever, man. You're so talented. I can't, you're kind of a brainiac. I would love to come to your meetups here in Dallas. It's so nice that you're local.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Right now they're on the second Saturday. At least that's been the trend. 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
And all of that information is on my website. They can sign up for my newsletter there as well.
Yay, good. Yeah, it's great. So tell our viewers about your I know you're generously giving a gift. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this is actually part of the class.
Oh.
And we're supposed to be doing complimentary readings, and I think a lot of us have just been so busy that it's been hard to do. So what I decided to do about that personally is to just get it out there. Just put it out on the website, Facebook page, Twitter, newsletter, and now here, and I'm saying it. If somebody wants a complimentary 30 to 45 minute vibrational astrology reading, just email me and we'll set up a time to do that.
I'm in.
Okay. And it's either over the phone or Skype or Zoom. And I've had a lot of good response from it so far.
I can't wait. It's so interesting. It's so different from what I do, which is just your basic stuff. I just do your basic stuff.
Plain vanilla astrology.
I'm just plain vanilla, man. I'm just.
I want to say something about that because every time I go back and I look at the basics, I learn something yet again. And so to me it's about style and art form, and that's the method that people choose. But really most astrologers incorporate lots of different things from different schools of thought. And they may not discuss that with other astrologers. They may not teach that in their classes, but that's what I see, and that's kind of what I do. Except I'm very open about what I do.
Yeah.
So I'm not a purist, in the sense that I only do this kind of astrology in this way from this teacher, and that's it.
Right. Well, that clearly not. You draw in a little bit of everything. I think that kind of makes us all distinct how we read other people's charts, and also, if the more, it's just another tool in your bag.
Mm-hmm.
It's another tool, and to be able to know so many different, I would call them modalities almost, because they are so different, or fractions of astrology. Disciplines of astrology, I guess is what I should be using, to bring them all together to kind of compare one with another must be very, very interesting, like you were saying.
Yeah, you can do a comparative study of different astrologies and actually never see a single client or help anybody.
Yeah.
And spend your whole time just studying. I mean, that in and of itself is a job. And some people do that.
Mm-hmm.
They go to a lot of conferences. They get a lot of books. Kind of like you see behind me, all of these books. And I was in that mode for a while, but it's just something that I had to go through, just to investigate and really see how things work. And it took me a while to really settle into what I'm doing today.
So I get this
overnight.
Yeah, I get this question often. I have a Facebook group, and often I have people ask me what they believe the best beginner's book is. That's so wide to me. That's such a huge wide breadth for me. And I know I have a few that I recommend, but what do you recommend?
I'm thinking Astrology, A Cosmic Science is one. And I'm looking for it on my shelf right now, and I don't see it here, which is kind of bothering me because I just pulled it off the shelf the other day.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there are so many. That is one of the very first ones that I picked up, and I believe it's written by Isabel Hickey, if I'm not mistaken. Another one is simply called Astrology for Dummies by Ray Orion. And I know that name is not nice, and you know, we don't want to think of ourselves as dummies, and you know, but it's actually a really good book. And the one that I'm talking about is the second edition from 2007.
Okay.
But it's very well laid out, and it starts the right way, and it's looking at the right things. There is another book by Margaret Hone, and I think it's called The Textbook of Astrology.
Yes.
And I have that one. But for today's reader, I'm thinking Astrology for Dummies by Ray Orion right now, and if they need to get a few more, do that.
Yeah, you gave me some really good book references, which I have on order too. A couple of them of course I know about, but what was the one that you just told me? Hades. Yes, that one, Hades Moon. Yeah, that one I have on order, so I'm pretty excited about that read for sure. Well, I am so excited to have gotten to know you. I feel like I'm going to get to know you better by going to the meetups and, you know, just having somebody here. And I don't really know too many astrologers here in Dallas-Fort Worth, so I'm really grateful to get hooked in a little bit. And you were just such a find. I knew when I was searching, I thought, oh, I got to get this guy. And then what a plus, you live in Dallas-Fort Worth. That's awesome. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I won't take up any more of your time, but you've been a great addition to the summit, and I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.